Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for this Monday, January 8th. And I think all persons across the state should be paying close attention to late this week as we can say goodbye to the Arctic deep freeze, at least for now to some degree. And we expect a milder week all overall with temperatures in the 30s and 40s. And we can have a combination of some snow. Obviously, we have that this morning, some ice, some rain, some fog. And then even the potential, again, as we talked about the opening, is the potential for a major winter storm. And I think even though right now the best bet on most of the models is for Ohio, far southeast lower Michigan into southwest Ontario, especially Ohio, seems to be under the gun the most, but the most reliable model that we use is the European model, and it would bring up to a foot of snow all the way up as around the Mount Pleasant and Clare area, with up to 15 to 20 inches or more as you get into the Lansing area, who could be lambasted with the storm. But right now, southeast lower Michigan would seem to be the favored area from there south. But again, these storms that this one's going to be coming out of the Texas-Oklahoma panhandle, probably dig into the Arklatex region, Louisiana, into Arkansas, and then move to the northeast. Again, these ones have a tendency to being stronger and tracking further to the northwest than models this far out usually indicate. So all areas across the Great Lakes need to watch for this storm for late this week. And you can see out there this morning some snow falling at a pretty good clip here at about 6:30 this morning. And if we look at conditions around the area, temperatures mainly in the low 30s now, above freezing in most areas. So we should see these winter weather advisories that are expected to expire at 8 a.m. They should be allowed to do that. And then we have one last final band of snow that's currently moving through the area that could drop maybe a couple of tenths to a half inch across some portions of the area. But for the most part, the worst should be over here as we get into the 8, 9 o'clock time frame. And if we look at the spreadsheet of our sub-zero days, you can see St. Thomas up to 11 days now with sub-zero readings, and many locations picking up way more than we've seen in the last quite a few years. St. Thomas hit about, I think it was minus 24.8 Celsius, which is 12.5 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. Again, some very cold temperatures out there so far this winter, as we had a December to remember with about 168% of the normal snowfall, along with about a half a dozen days below zero at St. Thomas, and other areas picking up several days below zero as well. And if we look at the weather map this morning, the system coming through, bringing that mix across southern lower Michigan to snow, and snow further to the north. Most of the accumulations have been from around a half inch to as much as 3.5 inches that I've seen this morning. And again, that system will move off. We'll see some sun break out this afternoon, highs in the 30s. And then as we get into Tuesday, well into the 30s, maybe into the 40s, maybe even in the upper 40s as we get into Thursday. And we'll have a system begin to organize off to the west. Okay, the first system will move up off to our west. We'll be in a warm sector on Wednesday and Thursday for sure. And any precipitation that may start off with a mix will change over to some light rain. When we're in a warm sector, it doesn't look like we're going to see a lot of precipitation. Then the cold front will come through, and then the secondary storm is going to develop someplace in the southern plains. And again, it could move either up towards Kentucky into Pennsylvania, or it could move right up towards north central Ohio near the Sandusky area, Dayton area. And again, that would be the European solution that would bring a lot of heavy snow to much of central and southern lower Michigan. As far as precipitation here over the next 7 days from the WPC, you can see they got the band of the heaviest precipitation off into the Ohio Valley. The European in the dash yellow line would bring over 2 inches of equivalent precipitation, and that would be a lot of snow for much of the Great Lakes. And if we look at the GFS, this was the Z run. This would be through 7 p.m. Saturday. Again, showing lots of heavy snow in Ohio, but also a significant amount of snow across much of southeast lower Michigan into southwest Ontario. Some of these amounts 20 inches. Look at these amounts over 20 inches in much of central Ohio near Columbus and Springfield, and up towards Dayton. Again, a lot of heavy snow. We're going to have to really watch this storm. And then you see the 06Z run, which I don't like the runs of the 06 or the 18Z runs. They don't tend to have as much data input into these storms. But again, it would clobber much of Ohio and bring at least some accumulating snows to southeast lower Michigan or into Ontario. And if we look at the Canadian, it's a little bit of a compromise between the 0Z and the 6 run of the GFS. Again, showing very heavy snows across north central and northwest Ohio, into southeast lower Michigan. Again, southwest Ontario, you look like you're in pretty good shape so far on almost all these models. And then finally, if we look at the European model, it's a farther northwest track, and to me that certainly is very, very plausible. And you can see it would hit places like Lansing and Flint up towards the Thumb area with over 20 inches of snow, and even up to a foot of snow as you get up towards Augrays and the Standish area, towards Mount Pleasant, 15 inches here in the Elm area, 17 near Grand Rapids. So again, this storm, this model cannot be, it's one of the most reliable models we have. And plus those storms out of the panhandle areas do have a tendency to track further north and west, as tendency is to become much deeper, much stronger storms than what they show 4 or 5 days out. So again, this is a pretty significant weekend storm. And then as far as the extended outlook, you can see that behind that storm, we expect a lot of cold air to pour in. But as we get into the 8 to 14, probably around day 10 through 14, we're going to see much of the nation being bathed and flooded in warmth. And flooding might be the key word there. With a little bit of precipitation, very warm temperatures, we could see a lot of flood conditions across much of the Midwest and the Great Lakes develop if that warm air does indeed, and especially in areas that if you do get a lot of snow between now and then. As far as the forecast goes, across the area from last night this morning, about 1 to 3 inches. Temperatures rising into the 30s over the next couple of days, maybe a little bit cooler tomorrow, and then we jump into the low 40s as we get into Wednesday, well into the 40s on Thursday, with the chance of some snow and some mix initially as that storm moves in, with overnight lows in the 20s on Wednesday morning. But then we'll see that precipitation change over to maybe some light rain or drizzle, lots of fog around the area. And then the cold front will move through late Thursday night, and that'll change it over to a little bit of snow. And then we're going to watch that storm as we get into Friday night into Saturday night. Looks like the bullseye if that storm's going to hit much of the mid-Michigan area. And again, we'll have to keep a close eye on this all week long. As far as weather watch out there this morning, a lot of winter weather advisories for some freezing drizzle, light freezing rain, and accumulations of about 1 to 3 inches of snow across the area. Again, not a big system. It'll move out. We'll see some sunshine later on this afternoon. We got flood advisories over portions of northern Wisconsin into south central UP, and then some dense fog advisories off to our west in Iowa. And again, this area of fog is definitely going to be something we're going to be seeing here as we get into the middle part of the week with those warmer temperatures over that snowpack. Thanks for stopping by, and have yourself a great day, a great work week, and 73s to all.